Hey guys, magandang araw po sa ating lahat. Ah, Ngayon, i-discuss natin yung multiple linear regression. Basically, when you are doing multiple linear regressions, uh, we are talking about relationship and at the same time uh, predict, predict, predictive analysis. Now, let's say in a certain research, marketing research, uh, you want to extend yung sales mo. Uh, para makita mo yung uh, sales pattern, of course you have to consider yung mga parameters that exist in your organizations. Maybe you want to consider, let's say, the advertisings of your products, because advertising has an impact to the performance, has an impact to the sales performance, attractions of the products. Maybe you want to consider yung number of plays on a radio per week. So we have so many factors that could affect the sales performance. Kaya lang, hindi natin nakikita yung mga complexity. We need to investigate using yung predictive analysis. Now, in multiple linear regressions, we usually considered yung dependent variables and independent variables. So, as you can see in our data, meron tayong three independent variables, and our sales record is our dependent variables. Now, according to this data, they want to determine whether the number of plays on a radio per week and the attractiveness of, say, ban to include yung advertising budgets, thousands of pounds. They want this to investigate if there is an impact to the record sales. So, sa record sales, ang measurement or scales of measurement ginamit natin is actually scale interval measurement. So, ang unit of measurement niya is thousands sa record sales. Then, number of plays on a radio per week. Tapos, sa ban naman, yung attractiveness of ban. So, ito yung kabuuan ng ating data. So, they want to determine whether the number of I mean airplay or number of broadcasting on a radio per week, uh, if there is an impact to the sales record or sales performance. Likewise, yung attractiveness of the band, kung mayroong mga band na nagaganap sa kanilang area, sa mall, let's say, ganun. Then at the same time, may mga advertisings. So, kinuha itong mga numero. Let's say sa broadcasting sa radio, meron siyang 43 number of plays on a radio. Tapos, ito naman, sampung banda na ginanap or attractiveness of band, 10. And then, sa advertising, so mga 10.26. Maybe this is an average. Tapos, so, sa record nila is 330 sales or 330,000. Tapos sa number of play on the radio is 43. Tapos 10 na attractive band, 10 mga banda sa kanila ginawa. Then meron silang 10, I mean, almost 10.26k pounds yung advertisings na ginawa nila ng products. So basically, these independent variables are all scale. To include yung dependent natin, scale din yung measure. Now, when using multiple linear regression, maraming assumptions. Kailangan yung data distribution natin is normally distributed. And at the same time, yung residual natin ay, the error terms is constant across the level of the independent variables. So, kailangan constant siya. Collinearity, kailangan din natin i-consider. Dapat ang independent variables natin wala silang interactions, effects from one another. So, dapat independent sila from one another. Yung independent. Kaya nga independent variables dapat independent. And of course, yung outliers, consider din natin yan sa residual effect. So, sa assumptions ng multiple linear regression, sa regressions analysis, dapat yung consider natin yung multicollinearity, and then yung variables natin, dapat yung independent variables natin kailangan quantitative siya or categorical. So at the same time, yung outcome variable must be quantitative, continuous, and unbounded. By quantitative, quantity. Pag sinabi mong qualitative, categorically. Hindi dapat malaki ang natin, variance natin. Dapat expected value of the error terms is always zero. Hindi naman totally zero, but definitely all of our residual effect is very close to zero. So predictors should have some variations in value. So dapat meron makakapag-contribute yung independent variables natin doon sa dependent variables. At yung independent variables natin, dapat hindi siya perfect, hindi masyadong mataas yung collinearity nila, yung correlations, tamtaman lang. Dapat hindi siya masyadong mga 90, gano'n, 90%. Dapat nasa, let's say, mga 20 to 50, gano'n, yung correlations nila. Weak relationship. Yung nga, predictors are uncorrelated. Dapat independent variables. At ang independent variables dapat walang correlations from one another. Of course, pinaka-importante yung homozydasticity. Kaya na sinabi ko that the error term or the variance of the error term must be equal across the levels of some variables. Kailangan constant. Yung error term din natin must be independent from one participant to another participants, or from one sample, or from one respondent to another respondent. Let's say, for example, ako, hindi dapat magkapareho yung effect ko. Kumbaga sana hindi ako pwede magkaroon ng dalawang epekto. So, dapat iisa lang yung effect ko. Kaya dapat yung independent errors ay mamit. So for any two observations, kaya sinabi dito, for any two observation, the residual term should be uncorrelated. Kailangan yung isang participant hindi siya magdedepende doon sa isang participant. So in other words, wala akong, yung epekto ko hindi naapektuhan sa iba. Kung anong epekto ko independent from the other. participants. Of course, yung residual effects dapat normally distributed or the error terms. Linearity. So, meaning dapat yung or independent variables should have a direct uh, or indirect or should have a linear relationship with the dependent variables. So with that, let us proceed to SPSS. So using SPSS for multiple linear regressions, kailangan pupunta tayo sa analyze and then diretso tayo sa linear. So basically, meron na akong output result dyan. But for the purpose of the explanation, i-explain ko sa inyo. So, dito, reset ko muna. Our dependent variables is our the record sale. So, dito natin ilagay sa dependent. And then dito natin ilagay yung independent variables. So, tatlo. So, in this case, we have 3 independent variables. Then, I use yung stepwise method. Pag sinabi mo stepwise, unang-unang gagawin ng SPSS is hahanapin niya yung pinakamataas na correlations ng independent variables. Tapos, sunod, maghahanap na naman siya yung pinaka malaking variables. So, yun yung magiging model kung mayroon siyang nakikita. So, ipaliwanag ko sa iyo later. Punta tayo sa statistics. Of course, click lang natin yung estimate kasi ito lang ang gusto natin. Pag sinabi mo estimate, yung estimate ng ating beta or regression coefficient. Tapos yung model fit. Then, R squared chain. And descriptive. Then, partial and part correlations. Then, collinearity para makita natin kung merong multicollinearity nag-exist. Then, Durbin, Watson, case-wise diagnostic. 2 standard. Gusto natin. 2 standard deviation. Alright, continue. Plots. Kailangan natin ng plots ng standard residual sa y-axis tapos standardized predicted values sa x-axis para makita natin yung constant variance sa error term. This is actually one way to investigate yung homogeneity of the variance. Then sa standard residual plots, I just need yung histogram and normal probability plot. For save, if you want to save mga predicted values, residuals, just go to save. So, hindi ko na ito. Gusto yung distance, yung value ng Cooks, average values para makita nyo yung outliers, Then sa influence statistics, outliers dito. Prediction intervals, 95 confidence interval of the predicted values, the mean, then the individual predicted values, yan. Of course, yung coefficient statistics. Alright, we continue. Sa options, level of significance natin is 0.05 since our confidence interval is 95%. Then sa removal ng ating stepwise method, dapat hanggang 0.10. Alright, continue. Click OK. Ito na. So, this is the output of the SPSS for multiple linear regression. As you can see, shown is the standard, the mean, and the standard deviation for our sample size. Sa record size natin, we have a mean 193.20 with a standard deviation of 80.699. Of course, 200 yung sample size. Number of plays, ratio, sa independent variables natin may mga mean din siya. So this is actually the descriptive statistics of our data distributions. Now for the correlations metrics, as you can see, dito sa left corner, I mean from the lower left corner, as you can see, ito, pataas, medyo mababa naman yung ano nila, collinearity nila. Wala akong nakitang 90% yan, 0.90. So basically, nasa less than 60% lang yung correlation. So hindi siya masyado big deal to that multicollinearity is. So as you can see, itong pinakamataas sa correlation from record sales, yung number of broadcasting on a radio per week. So sa stepwise method, sa SPSS kasi ito yung kukunin niya, unang model choice niya. So next, variables entered, remove. Meron tayong ginamit na stepwise method. Since stepwise method, ang ginawa lang niya dito is dito siya kumuha ng model sa tatlong independent variables. For the next table, which is the model summary, as you can see, our overall multiple correlations is meron siyang tatlong model. So yung model 1, multiple correlations niya is nasa 60%, gano'n. Then sunod 80%, then 81%. So basically, this is actually positive relationship. And the coefficients of determinations sa model 1 is we have 0.359. So nasa 35 or 36% of the variation that has been accounted for model 1. Of course, for model 2, we have 62% of the variation that has been accounted by model 2. Then sa model 3 naman, 60, maybe 67%. So 67, meron pa siyang tirang hindi na-explain o hindi na-account. Nasa 67, nasa 33, ganun. 33% pa ang hindi na may natitira pa. So basically, if you want to see yung another variables, meron pang natitirang unexplainable variations. Of course, adjusted R squared nag-improve as the number of independent variables increase to be included in the model. Nag-improve yung adjusted R squared natin. Likewise, yung sa R squared change natin, bumaba as the number of our independent variables ay nadagdagan. So, basically significant. For the Durbin-Watson, so wala tayong multicollinearity exists kasi of course yung Durbin-Watson natin is 1.2 which is less than 4. So as you can see, for the model 1, ang in-incorporate niya na independent variable yung the number of plays on the radio, 1 per week. Tapos sa model 2, dalawang independent variables ang nakikita niya, ang pinaka good fitted model sa ating sales record, yung number of plays on a radio, 1 per week, at saka advertising budget. And then sa model 3, tatlo na, sinama na lang. Now for the ANOVA table for regression, as you can see is a model 1, significant siya. So there is a linear relationship exists in model 1, same true in model 2, linear relationship for sa model 3, very significant. So there is a pattern of linear relationship from among the 3 models included. The next table is the coefficients of regressions. So for the model 1, our regression coefficient, ito yung beta constant natin, which is 84. So significant, meaning it does not pass through 0. Of course, itong si number of plays on the radio is regression coefficient natin is 3.939. So which is very significant. As you can see, uh, sa variance inflation factor is close to 1 to include yung tolerance. So if it is close to 1, so collinearity or multicollinearity does not exist. So this is our partial correlations, 599. And of course, yung zero order correlations. So what is mean? This is actually 60%. Uh, this is actually the value of our partial correlations. So sakto lang yung ano niya, yung partial correlations. Next yung model 2, 3.5. By the way, how we interpret this and the standardized coefficients. So for model 1, for every unit increase in the number of lays on radio per week, so there uh, there is a 3.9 so change in record shale. So ibig sabihin dyan, for every unit increase in the number of plays on the radio 1 per week, 3.939 times change in record sales. Sa model 2, yung tayong 3.589 yung beto, yung sa then, advertising budget is 0.08 yung regression coefficients. So basically, all of them are significant. Of course, yung variance inflation factors, multicollinearity does not exist in the model. So for model 3, it's good. Mas na-include na natin. See, as you can see, tumaas yung bumaba yung partial correlations. So, meaning, lahat ng independent variables ay nakakapag-contribute na sa dependent variables. So, for every unit increase in advertising budget, there exists yung 0.085 times change in sales record. Ganun din sa attractiveness is 11.05. So for the next table, ito yung mga variables na hindi na-include, na-exclude. Hindi na-include yung attractive of ban, tsaka yung advertisement budget. Actually dito, na-include natin is number of plays on the radio at advertising. Pero yung attractiveness of brand sa advertising. So, which is very good din yung, yun niya, yung regression coefficients kasi significant siya. Ito kasi yung standard, ano niya standard coefficients. Ibig sabihin, yung independent variables natin ay tsaka dependence ay ini-standardize. Tapos, din, niran yung multiple lineations. Kaya nakuha yung standardized coefficient. So, ginamit dito is standardized, which is parehas din naman, pati yan ang standardized coefficients. So, basically, significant din siya. So, as you can see from the top, from the model, yung dalawang independent variables ay nasa 63% of the variation that has been explained for model 2, which is yung number of plays and advertising. So, kung 63 yan, meron pang 37% na hindi na-explains. So, there might be the possibility ito yung 37% titira. Kaya, chinuse niya yung 63 kasi mataas yung coefficients of determinations niya. But basically, pwede naman ito. Kaya lang, medyo mas appropriate yung advertising budget at saka yung number of broadcasting on the radio na incorporate doon sa model. And then, sa multicollinearity, as you can see, for the eigenvalues, lahat yan, ang tawag nito, may explanation to. So, for model 2, meron naman siya mataas, mababa lahat. For model 1, mababa yung 0.04. So, at meron ding mataas. So, okay lang. So, ibig sabihin, meron balance yung correlations niya. Sa model 2, may mababa, may mataas. Diba? 0.85 tapos may mataas. Tapos sa model 3, may mababa, may mataas. May mababa, may mataas. As you can see, ang mataas sa model 1 is ito. Tapos, sa model 2, may mataas. Ganon din dito, may mataas. So, meaning, kung ang values ng ating variance proportions ay may isang mataas at all the rest ay mababa, may sabihin yan, multicollinearity does not exist. Pero kung may dalawang mataas, well, you will suspect ka na meron multicollinearity exists. For our case-wise diagnostic, so as you can see, lahat naman ay Hmm, ito lang yung mataas na residual. So, basically, yung ah, mataas na yan ay ito, hindi naman masyadong malaki yung deviation. It's not a big deal. Walang outliers. Konti lang. Ito yung residual statistics. Hindi ko na-explain ito kasi ah, wala naman tayong outliers talaga. Of course, yung residual natin is ano, normally distributed. Okay? Of course, yung normal PP plots regression ng standard ay very close to pitted line. So, normal siya talaga. So, normally distributed yung random error error terms natin. Sa plot naman ng residual, as you can see, versus yung standardized predicted value, it seems there is a constant variance exists, so homogeneity exists. So if you want to test that, try to see yung ito yung Bruce Pagan test para makita mo yung while hetero heterodescacity. Yan. So if the Bruce Pagan test is large, then there's might a possibility na magkaroon ka ng heterohedacity. Pero kung maliit yung Bruce Pagan test mo, homocedacity is exists in residual effects. That would be all. Thank you very much. So hopefully it will entail a lot to you. So don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. At huwag nyo na rin kalimutan i-click yung notification bell. Thank you.